spoken about, risk-taking and constant learning, and I think, the inherent nature of people is also, you can take so many risks, but you also don't want to fail, So, Mark, you work with Richard's program with the entrepreneurs. What do you find, and how do you deal with that and tackle it and nurture those people to push them to take the risks and to not be afraid to fail, but also, to move the needle forward on things that, are going to get there in the end? I mean,
It takes a whole kind of ecosystem that comes together as a team. I think when Vinod's talking about getting people together who really love each other, they also really love the cause. They love the purpose that they're coming together to execute. So it's not just about me, it ends up being about us winning, and people that you want to win with together and learn with together. And so having an ecosystem of people who can bring all those different sensibilities and have a nice fair fight, a great argument, and ultimately all be trying to root for the customer and finding unique and value-added ways to root for those customers and find ways to solve problems. When we looked at really motivated workplaces where there was low turnover rates and higher productivity, and we saw a high level of customer satisfaction, it was always correlated with groups of individual teams who would come together and give their employees solutions-based tools that they could feel empowered to use, so that they had permission. Because people who love to serve people want to have the tools to do that. And it's kind of ironic that most organizations don't think that way, because the employee really is on the same page as you are when they're a high potential. They actually want to get stuff done and deliver that for employees, and they're so frustrated when they can't. And then they love to be able to be with other people they can learn from and be mentored from. As an executive coach, I'd like to think all the value comes from an expert from the outside, but what the research really shows is if you could be with a team that you feel you can learn from and that you can grow with, and that you can have a really good argument over the customer services around, that's an empowered kind of entrepreneurial team. And that's where you see success after success, not driven by personality, but by the culture of that team bringing their full force to it.
And so we're seeing a lot more of this now in the industry, obviously, that need to innovate faster and get out, and the models are changing. And Vinod, from a business leader perspective, what do you think is driving all of this? I mean, how has the industry shifted? Because obviously there's external forces pushing this a lot harder now than it used to be.
There's always been a need for innovation, but right now this technology was influencing individual silos of industries, right, or certain specific domains. But what we're seeing in the last 5 to 10 years is that the influence that one industry is having on another is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like it, right? So, Silicon Valley, for example, has been the hotbed of innovation, but largely, and you know it much better than I do, Mark, but around information and technology and, IT oriented. But now, that IT prowess and the software is now influencing everything, right? And you're taking it and saying, okay, how can I disrupt the hospitality industry? I'm looking at the urban landscape and saying, how can I, completely change that for the better, right? How can I take the power of IT and apply it to healthcare, to automotive, so on and so forth? This cross-industry pollination and the breaking down of silos is incredible. It's also frightening, right? and then you have the need, the urgency around innovation, boundaryless innovation, is what's driving everybody to think about this really hard and not just let it happen on its own. And also those you're watching, your competitors are not just within your industry. You've got to sit in the hospitality industry and think of somebody in a completely different domain saying, how can I go, how will I be disaggregated, or how will my business model change because of that?
I'm thinking about all the strategy sessions that Honeywell must have held in terms of looking at who their competitors would be, and they're trying to be productively paranoid, but they never guessed Google would be the one.
Exactly.
They would want it to have this infrastructure in the home, and it's an exaggerated example of what you're talking about, where you need to be kind of productively paranoid.
And it goes back to, I think, really talking, because we don't focus on our customer enough. Right? We think customers are waiting there to buy the services that we create, or the products or widgets that we push out of our assembly lines. But if we don't think enough about why they're buying that service, what is the underlying need, and how does that need sit alongside another need that the same consumer has, right? and be observing that and looking at the opportunities and the threats that brings.
And it sounds like that at Tata you're partnering with interesting companies in many different industries. That same metaphor is extended in a deep way. I mean, we're here in Singapore celebrating the Grand Prix and the Formula One, and I'm thinking about how you've now taken on the role at Tata of helping differentiate the customer with their customer cohort, that you're reinventing the customer experience so that it's a richer, deeper, more exciting race. And in a sense, you've become experts in knowing your customer's customer, and that's really an emerging thing that's happened in the last.
And a simple way of looking at that, Mark, is not, you know, I'm a bit slow, so these things come to me a bit late. But we can't look at any business as a B2B business or a B2C business. You need to look at a business as a B2B2C business, or a B2B2B business, or a B2B2C to something else business, because you have consumers also who are doing different things with the services they buy.
And you win if you can
right?
help them at
And the
every
longer
step in
you
the
can
chain.
look into that and have an understanding of why your service is being consumed, or why your product is being, and how and why it's being bought, then I feel you can defend against threats. If you just think of the first hop, you're limited to your competitors, you're looking at the obvious replacements for your product and so on, but you do need to look at the third step at minimum.
I was thinking that it's almost a three-step process that you have at Tata, where you have to know your customer's customer, and then, as you said, right down through the value chain. But the interesting thing emerges when you realize that you actually understand your customer's business model, what drives their margins, what drives their profitability. They're not going to be as price sensitive about your services if they know you have the same. You're acting like an investor.
Exactly.
In their business.
Very well put. We do need to think like an investor. We do need to think about their bottom line, or what other impacts they're trying to make with their business.
And it's something that is also helping them understand what they're great at, too. I would think in terms of what they could be world-class at and where their passions are. When I think about this race, you've really nailed the idea that it's got to be exciting to watch this race. It's got to be exciting to see people really break new ground, and you're enabling that with your product.
Yeah, with Formula One, it's multi-dimensional. I think the benefits we've accrued from the relationship. First and foremost, just being able to it is the largest live sporting event that goes on pretty much the whole year, right? It's over 40 weeks, 20 odd races, 300 million people watching each race, and nothing can stop for 1 nanosecond. So you've got the way you engineer that solution, the way you work with the Formula One organization, and that whole ecosystem to shift this technology infrastructure along with all the motor sports paraphernalia that goes with it. Although they'd like to think they're the important piece. It's the technology that enables it. Anyway, the whole thing is important. But the way it moves around, but literally like a circus tent, it's packed up and then taken to the next location. And within 2 weeks, you're up and running again. It's been quite a feat of partnership, quite a feat of technology, and just the experience we deliver together around the world to users from Africa to the US even, and of course in Europe and other parts of the world is really thrilling.
It's remarkable.
So finally, you've had the relationship with Formula One for a few years now, and what would you say Tata Communications' biggest learning has been during the time with this world-class, one of the world's top sporting brands? For you as a business, what's been the biggest learning curve?
Besides the obvious ones of brand recognition, so on and so forth, I think our biggest takeaway is operational improvement. Operating the network at that speed and with the change which is naturally built into it required us to revamp a lot of our processes, the way we approach design, the way we approach implementation, the way we approach redesign and redeployment. That's taught us a lot operationally, which we then take and apply to all our customers across industries. That's been the biggest takeaway. And the brand is now much better known with the audiences that we are trying to reach, and we're being associated with, if it's mission critical, if your business depends on it, if your customers depend on it, Tata Communications can do it for you.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's a good place to stop. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ross.